And she is in a CBS week's time lost 20% of her support. She has gone from 51% to 41%. And this is in a three-way race with her, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden. She goes from 51 to 41.
Plummet.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders goes from 24 to 28, and Joe Biden goes from 16 to 20. So each of them gets the lion's share of the lack of her support. Now, of course, Tuesday night is going to be the first Democrat debate, and it will be... I'm not sure. I think it's NBC or CNBC MSNBC that's hosting it. And it will be all five contenders, evidently, that are officially Democrat contenders. Of course, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders. Then you would also have Jim Webb. No, not Joe Biden. You would also have Jim Webb, Martin O'Malley, and Link Chafee, the guy who used to be a Republican moderate. And so Biden will not be in this debate, but the other five candidates, even though Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are the only two getting any substantial poll numbers. The other five are down like around 1% each. Or excuse me, the other three are down like around 1% each. And nonetheless, they will be in the debate, if for no other reason than to take time away from Hillary Clinton so she won't have to talk too much. Because pretty much everybody in the Democratic establishment understands that the more she talks, the more she seems to get herself into trouble. So unfortunately, she can have Bill Clinton make speeches for her, but he can't do debates for her. So we'll see what happens Tuesday night, and if that does anything to change her numbers. And they're similar in Iowa and New Hampshire. That was a nationwide poll, by the way. In Iowa and New Hampshire, it is similar. In Iowa, she now leads Bernie Sanders by only 7 percentage points, 43 to 36. If you include Joe Biden in the mix, though, her 43 goes down to 33. Bernie Sanders, 36, goes down to 28, and Joe Biden gets all of it. He gets 22%. In New Hampshire, it's a similar story. Bernie Sanders, once again, is still up big in New Hampshire. He's got 48 to Hillary's 39. However, if you bring in Joe Biden, Bernie goes from 48 to 42. Hillary, however, goes from 39 to 28. And, of course, Joe Biden would pick up that support. All the polls still show, or with very few exceptions, show Donald Trump substantially ahead in the Republican Party. There's also other bad news for the Republican establishment. Good news for Donald Trump. 72% of the GOP voters surveyed said they are dissatisfied with GOP leaders, of course, voters in Congress and others. And, of course, the establishment Republican candidates, that does not bode well for them. And Donald Trump has some mixed numbers, both good news and some would say bad news, but the good news may outweigh the bad news. 80% of Republicans polled say Donald Trump is and would be a strong leader. That's very significant because a lot of what people think we need right now is a strong leader. Because we've been having the dancing queen, the panty waist, President Barry Soetoro, Barack Hussein Obama, or whatever his name is, right? However, 60% say he is untrustworthy. Now, that number is, he's been working on that, and it's been slowly turning in his favor, just like his unlikability turned dramatically into likability for him. So the fact that 80% see him as a strong leader, I think, more than outweighs people's quote-unquote untrust of him. And that number, untrust, will go down, whereas that strong leader, that's not going to be really challenged with Donald Trump. I mean, that's what he exudes. He exudes leadership.
Confidence.
Exactly.
So much confidence.
Exactly. Confidence, confidence, and this can-do attitude. And we are so sick and tired of being told, can't do this, can't do that. That's why John Boehner, that's why this whole mess in the House of Representatives. Because the conservative caucus has been told, ever since they got elected, on being conservatives, that you can't come here and be a conservative. You can't do that. Don't work. That's not how we play in Washington, you see. And they all get the meeting, they all get the lunch, where it's basically spelled out in terms of, if you want to go places in this town, you got to go with us. If you don't want to go far in this town, do it your way. And that's hammered home right early in the process. And so that, as I said, has gotten them in trouble. Ben Carson beats everybody when it comes to honesty and trustworthiness. 81% see Ben Carson as honest and trustworthy. But as I said, Trump dwarfs them all in terms of being a strong leader, and he is once again dwarfing them in the polls as well. And now, we have found out a few things about those two top-tier candidates. I'm talking about Trump and Carson, having to do with the Second Amendment. Donald Trump revealed in an interview this morning on Fake the Nation, and I keep forgetting the new guy's name. I'll get it down sooner or later. Anyway, Donald Trump does have a concealed weapons permit, firmly believes in the Second Amendment, and yes, he does pack heat. Not all the time, he said, but he does pack heat. And when asked why, he said, well, to be able to protect myself. Duh! I mean, isn't that why you would carry something like that, to protect oneself?
I don't think it occurs to people sometimes. Well, that's not what guns for.
It occurs to people. It just doesn't occur to liberals. Okay, so all right, so but to liberal people, it does not occur to them. They see guns as threats. They see guns as something to be feared, something to be abhorred, something that you do away with if you're a civilized individual. You only have something to do with guns if you're somehow barbaric. They don't get it. They don't understand that the whole idea of the Second Amendment is protection. To be able to protect ourselves, not just from a criminal, not just from starvation, in other words, being able to hunt, but to protect ourselves from tyrannical governments, whether it be our own or an invading force. That's what it's all about. Protection. And without the Second Amendment, we cannot protect the Constitution. Period. All of the other amendments are worthless without the Second Amendment. Hence, the liberals' concerted and prolonged and, unfatigable attack on the Second Amendment. They understand what I just said. You take down the Second Amendment either by repealing it or basically making it worthless, by coming up with so many conditions why you can't have a gun that the so-called right to have one is no longer worth anything. You undercut the Second Amendment, the rest of the Constitution goes with it. There is nothing to hold that following government after the Second Amendment rights are gone back from being tyrannical. And we all know that the natural tendency for any government is to be tyrannical. Just look at Barack Obama. Well, if I can't work with the Congress, I got a pen and a phone. That's working towards being tyrannical. And Hillary Clinton. They can't do that about gun control. I'll do executive action. That's working toward being tyrannical. It's all about protection. And that's where Ben Carson gets into it, because he brings the heat. Donald Trump gave a sound and believable defense of the Second Amendment. I mean, if the man packs heat, he's most likely not going to be one to have us give up our weapons, is he?